Today we're looking at spin-offs that had everything going for them and still flopped. In fact, some of these movies people actually begged for. Others, nobody asked. All of them, total disasters. Morbius, it's Morbin Time, and nobody actually knows what that means. After Venom made over $856 million, despite being kind of a mess, Sony got confident. They wanted their own Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man, just his villains running around doing villain things. And when they announced Morbius, fans were not, exactly thrilled, but they were willing to give it a shot. Then Sony hired Jared Leto, which immediately made everyone nervous after his Joker performance in Suicide Squad. But you know what? A vampire superhero? It could be interesting. Also, the trailer looked decent enough that people were willing to give it a shot. Sony gave it a $75 million budget and promised the movie would connect to Venom and somehow also the MCU Spider-Man films. Well, it didn't. Morbius limped into theaters in April 2022, and it was immediately obvious that this wasn't going to be anywhere near as good as the trailer had suggested. The plot barely existed. Every fight scene seemed to happen in the dark, where you couldn't really tell what was happening. The few connections to other Spider-Man movies made absolutely no sense and seemed like they'd been edited into it at the last minute. Made for $75 million, Morbius earned $163 million worldwide. Not technically a disaster, but after marketing costs, it barely broke even. 5.1 on IMDb and endless negative reviews on social media. Yeah, things weren't looking great. But then, something absolutely magical happened. The internet turned Morbius into a meme. People started ironically claiming it was the greatest movie ever made, that Jared Leto deserved every Oscar for his performance. It's Morbin Time became a viral catchphrase, and Sony, in what might be the funniest misunderstanding in modern Hollywood history, thought the memes meant people actually really liked the movie. So in June 2022, they re-released Morbius in theaters, genuinely believing the internet praise was real. And guess what happened? Well, the re-release only brought in around $300,000. And with that, Morbius became the first movie in history to bomb twice. Same movie, two separate theatrical runs, both failures. Catwoman, the time when Warner Brothers spent $100 million making a movie about the wrong person. So the Batman franchise in the early 2000s was at a crossroads. Tim Burton's gothic masterpieces had given way to Joel Schumacher's campy disasters, and the entire series seemed exhausted. But one element had remained consistently popular across all interpretations: Catwoman. Whether it was Eartha Kitt purring through the 60s TV show, Julie Newmar's campy charm, or Lee Merriweather in the '66 movie, the character just worked. Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns? Absolutely iconic, and honestly one of the best parts of that movie. The character had everything you could want. She's morally complicated, very intriguing, and she's already part of the Batman universe everyone loves. And at the time, fans were begging for a spin-off Catwoman movie. Warner Brothers heard those requests, and you know what they did? They made a decision so baffling, it still doesn't make sense 2 decades later. They spent $100 million on a Catwoman movie that had nothing to do with the Catwoman that fans had asked for. They made a Catwoman movie that would have absolutely nothing to do with Selina Kyle, Batman, or even the city of Gotham. Instead, we got Patience Phillips, a shy graphic designer who discovers her evil boss is selling beauty cream that eventually destroys its users. She gets deleted for knowing too much, comes back to life with cat powers, and then starts acting like an actual cat, like hissing at dogs in the street. Sharon Stone basically just showed up to collect her paycheck. She played the villain, which should have been interesting, but even an Oscar winner couldn't save a character whose plot revolves around selling a bunch of tainted anti-aging cosmetics. And you can tell that Halle Berry is giving it everything she's got. But no performance can fix a movie that stripped away everything that made Catwoman interesting in the first place. In fact, she wasn't playing Catwoman at all. She was playing a completely different character who just happened to also be called Catwoman. Barry's friends warned her this would end her career, and they were almost right. The movie cost $100 million and made $82 million worldwide, 3.4 on IMDb, less than 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a Razzie win for the worst movie of that year. Halle Berry actually showed up to the Razzies in person, brought her Oscar with her for moral support, and gave a speech thanking everyone who made the movie possible. That's how you know it's bad, when the Razzie speech becomes more iconic and gets a better reception than anything in the actual film itself. Ballerina. When the Continental Hotel runs out of good ideas. Now let's be clear, the John Wick franchise built something genuinely magical. An entire secret assassin world with its own currency, rules, and mythology. Every movie added more layers. The Continental Hotel, the High Table, the markers, the gold coins and blood oaths, and fans loved it. So when Lionsgate announced Ballerina, a spin-off about a female assassin from the same world, starring Ana de Armas with Keanu Reeves returning, people were legitimately excited. Ana had proven she could handle action in No Time to Die. The movie would explore the Ruska Roma ballet assassin training program that had only been hinted at in the main films. And Keanu Reeves would return as John Wick to pass the torch. And this seemed like a natural extension of a world that fans definitely wanted to spend more time in. The marketing looked great. In fact, the trailer had done something so genius by addressing an issue that hasn't really been addressed before in other major blockbuster movies. It highlighted the serious disadvantage that most women have when it comes to physical violence when their opponent is a man. Most action movies just pretend this reality doesn't exist. So right there in the trailer, it addressed how she would overcome that limitation. Cheat, fight dirty, use weapons, exploit weaknesses, use strategy, use anything except trying to win a fair fight you can't win. It was refreshing. It was honest, and it was such a brilliant approach because it immediately made her a lot more dangerous in a very real way. And with that, the trailer was able to convincingly promise that this movie would deliver on the grounded violence and badass spectacle that fans have come to expect from the Wick franchise. But then Ballerina hit theaters in June 2025, and the response was basically a collective shrug. I mean, the movie was fine, just fine. It was competently made, professionally executed, and hit all the satisfying beats audiences would have expected. And, Ana de Armas did her best, but the script gave her a generic revenge plot with none of the emotional weight that made John Wick's journey compelling. This film was basically a standard revenge story, but with none of the elaborate world-building details that made the main film so rewatchable. Keanu Reeves shows up, does some John Wick stuff, and you get the feeling he's contractually obligated to be there rather than the movie earning his appearance. Made for $90 to $100 million, it earned $137 million worldwide. Not a catastrophic bomb, but definitely disappointing enough that it probably lost money after marketing and distribution. The John Wick movies worked because they kept adding depth to this assassin underworld. Every film revealed new organizations, new rules, new consequences. But Ballerina uses that world as a backdrop without really adding anything new. And Ballerina proved that you can't just transplant a franchise's aesthetic to a new character and expect the magic to transfer as well. But in the end, Ballerina had all the right ingredients. It just felt like something essential was missing. Elektra, the movie that turned a mysterious assassin into a confused babysitter. When Daredevil came out in 2003, it got mixed reviews and divided fans. But there was one thing everyone agreed on. Jennifer Garner's Elektra was awesome. She was mysterious, dangerous, and compelling, even though she only appeared in a handful of scenes. Her surprise popularity made Fox fast-track an Elektra spin-off before Daredevil had even finished its theatrical run. And it all seems so perfect. Because Garner was already becoming a breakout star through her TV show Alias, proving she could headline a major project. The character of Elektra had a rich comic book history and decades of material to draw from. The budget was a modest $43 million, meaning it didn't need to be a massive hit to succeed. And fans were genuinely curious to see Elektra's story, her training with the hand, her journey as an assassin navigating a supernatural world. But somewhere between announcement and production, the whole thing fell apart. The first major issue was that the studio decided to aim for a PG-13 rating, which meant no blood or real violence in a movie about an assassin. And that's a deep fundamental flaw, because one of the reasons why Elektra works so well in the comics is because she's brutal, she's violent, she operates in morally gray areas that require showing the consequences of her actions. But the movie strips all that away. Every kill was pretty much bloodless. Every fight scene felt like you were just watching acrobatic dancing. And the entire film looked and felt like it was made for Saturday morning television instead of theaters. Audiences could tell they were watching a watered-down version of what should have been an R-rated thriller. Having said that, there are a lot of people that might have overlooked all of that if the plot was good, but it wasn't. The movie basically involves Elektra getting hired to unalive a father and daughter, immediately decides she likes them instead, and spends the rest of the movie babysitting and protecting them from an evil ninja cult who want to kidnap the kid because of a prophecy or something. There are mystical powers that are never explained. Villains show up, do vaguely supernatural things, and then leave. The action was so tame, it looked like everyone was gently pushing each other. The mystical elements that should have added depth just made everything confusing. And the villains had powers that seemed to change based on what the plot needed. Jennifer Garner tried. She brought the same commitment she brought to Alias and the first Daredevil movie. But the script gave her nothing interesting to work with. The character who'd been so compelling as a mysterious presence in Daredevil became boring when the movie tried to explain and soften her. Fans wanted a badass assassin film. But what they got was a watered-down supernatural drama that felt like a TV movie that accidentally ended up in theaters. Made for $43 million, Elektra earned only $56 million worldwide, 4.7 on IMDb, and a less than 29% on Rotten Tomatoes. The movie underperformed so badly that Fox immediately canceled all their other planned Daredevil spin-offs.